I'm wrestling, do not weep for me. Celebrate what I am. Celebrate what I have been. Celebrate what I represent. And celebrate the many ways I have impacted your life. I will survive this test as I have survived others. I am forever etched into the very fiber of all mankind. The world needs me. Time is on my side. History guarantees me. I am wrestling. Do not wait for me.
Buddy, this is episode number 40 of the T-Row and Funky Show. I'm here as always with my main man, Tommy Rowlands. And you guys loved last week's show. Tommy, I know the numbers were great, and you got some great feedback about the top 10 college wrestlers ever, correct?
Absolutely. Got plenty of text messages and reminders and FYIs that people like what we're
sucked.
doing. They said, I got plenty of recommendations if I ever did the list again. That's for sure. I'm sure you did too.
Yeah, the funniest part about it to me is that, like I said, you got the first handful that I think are for sure's, right? Mm-hmm. But then after that, you got this list, and you're like, good God, every one of these guys is amazing. How do I make these 18 people into 5? And so it's like, well, you missed this guy and you missed that guy, and it's like, yeah, obviously he's amazing, but what are you gonna take Pat Smith off the list? You can take Logan Stieber off the list, like,
yeah.
It's like,
I would say other than Cale Sanderson, where a certain person went could have been debated. I mean, Gable, Yataki, Hodge, Dake, Smith, Stieber, those guys, you could put them anywhere between 2 and 10, and I wouldn't call you a moron.
Yeah, and even like,
you know what I mean?
I mean, even when you go past that top 10, some of those names I list in my honorable mention, it's like, good God, they're, Carlton Hasselrig, Grace Simons. I mean, there's just so many high-level guys that are hard to, it's hard to fit them all in. You only got 10 spots.
The other thing that's difficult, and I thought a lot about this, why was it so much harder to do college international? Because I think one of the things that we didn't talk about is the timeline, the time frame in which you can either be successful or not is very finite. So your window to establish dominance and be successful is finite. Therefore, you can't break through barriers and be a clear cut unless you go undefeated and win 4 titles, right? So in international style, there was no end. You could have gone forever. So people did go for a long time. So the variance between one person's success and another's can be measured on the longevity of their success, the amount of times they sustained excellence at that level. But in college sports, it's a finite time frame. Besides Sanderson, in my opinion, you can take 25 guys and just throw a deck of cards in the air, and you can argue who's the second best.
You said that pretty well. I don't know if I could say it better if I tried, Tommy. That was impressive.
All right, well, there you go. That's what I'm here for, Ben.
That's exactly. Sometimes you just hit the nail in the coffin. There it goes. Hey, so we got Tervel Dlagnev coming on, who I know is a friend of yours. That should
Who's he?
He didn't make our college top 10. Must be a jabroni.
He would have been my D2 top 10.
I couldn't tell you the D2 guys. Joey Davis, he went undefeated. There you go. Well, hey, I want to talk about, we want to talk about Junior Worlds, but let's get right into this this doping. There's been 3, essentially what I would say, legends of the sport who got nailed in the last week, Tommy.
Clobber.
We got Artur Tomazov, who you wrestled, and I believe Tervel's wrestled multiple times, so maybe we'll ask him his opinion of that. Besik Kudakov, who is unfortunately deceased at this time, and then Asgarov, who's been now in 2 Olympic finals, and he's still pretty young. They all got popped. What do you think?
I think we have a culture of performance-enhancing drug use in Eastern European countries. I mean, you got Russia, Uzbekistan, and Asgarov is Azerbaijan, right?
Yeah, and, I don't know all their origins, but remember, that list that, who was that guy that put it out? He put that list out, right, of there's guys from 13 different countries training in Ossetia or whatever it is. Right?
Yeah, and I don't want to say Eastern Europe because that's including Turkey and countries that haven't.
They probably
But
use.
Russian countries though are the ones that are getting popped, and you have to look at the context of this too. I mean, just in the last two Olympics, the ones not counting 2016 because those tests, haven't been vetted yet. But in 2008 and 12, all the medalists. That's I think what is that, 56 medals? How many of those guys were Russian countries? I mean, what percentage of the Russian medalists have been popped? I mean, there's 3 of them that got popped. How many medalists were there out of the 56? Let's call it 25 maybe, or 30.
Yeah.
These are 10% of the guys that are getting popped 10, 8 and 10 years, 4 and 8 years after the fact. I think that would speak to a culture of use of performance enhancing drugs.
And I do know that they're saying there's more to come. I don't know if you read the releases, but I think it said there's more to come. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out here because, I mean, Coleman Scott might get a dang gold medal out of the whole deal because the bronze. So for those of you guys who are following, the gold and silver at 60 kilo both popped. So now we got 2 bronze medals. We got Coleman and the guy from India. It's kind of looking like he might get that.
Yeah, and I've been hearing that they're going to base it on classification points. I think it's unfair to do anything other than give the both of them a gold medal. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think that's an explanation that's going to make everybody happy, I believe. I mean, you're right. How does anyone get upset about that? So I think that's the one you got to go with because it's not like you can go back and wrestle him off. All right, we got Tervel calling in. We'll start him off on. All right, Tommy, and so this is the man right here. We got Tervel on the line. Tervel, what's going on?
Nothing much, guys. Just chilling, road tripping cross country right now.
So, yeah, I got to preface, Ben. Tervel shared with me. We were texting earlier today, and he told me that he's definitely in on the time that we want to do the show, but he's got 2 little dudes in the back seat, and if they go off, we're gonna have to deal with it. I told him that adds a little bit of color commentary to the show. We kind of like it that way.
And Tervel, don't feel bad by any means because my kids and Tommy's kids have both made plenty of noise during the show in the previous 39 episodes.
That's exactly right.
So where are you exactly?
We actually just stopped in Champaign, Illinois, on the way to Columbus from Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, nice. You gonna see Mark Perry? Say what's up.
No, I'm not planning on it, but I'll tell him hi for you if I see him.
You should probably go a couple live goes with Aymar.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I can get my stance.
Hey, so we were talking earlier in the show about all these drug tests that just came up. A guy you're familiar with, Artur Tomizov, he just got popped. Do you think there's any shadow of a doubt that he was using for more than just one Olympics?
I mean, it doesn't seem that way. I mean, if the rumors are true and Asgharov was using PEDs, that dude's like a string bean. So you can picture the Tomizov. Like, come on. Let's be honest. So, no, I mean, I'm pretty sure. It's hard to believe, definitely. If he was using it in 2008, I don't know if he got 4 years older, stopped using, and then won it again in London. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
That seems far-fetched.
It's very hard to believe. Very, very. And if our listening audience does not know who Artur Tomizov is, just Google the name and then click images, and he does not pass the eye test at all.
And Tervel, you obviously wrestled him in the Olympic semifinals in London, but I think you'd wrestled him in another world challenge. What is your record against him? 1-1 or 1-2?
1-2. First time he beat me in Ukraine tournament, then I beat him at the quarterfinals, 2011 Worlds, and he beat me in the Olympics.
Wow. Hey, so I want to, before we get into your segment, one of the things I noticed, someone tweeted this after you wrestled in the Olympics, that you did not compete in one international tournament your entire career and not compete for a medal. And I just thought, holy crap, that is completely impressive because the longevity. I mean, this is over the course of almost two Olympic cycles, and every single tournament you wrestled internationally, you competed for a medal. Is that statistic true? And what leads to that consistent type of performance that you always have?
That statistic is not true.
Oh, don't break my heart.
I know. Actually, there's one tournament, my first senior tournament. It was in Hasavert, Mahachkala, in fall of 2008. I just got off of college. Kevin Jackson, it was his last tour. He took a bunch of guys, and I went 0-1. But then that tournament turned into a dual tournament, so it's no longer an individual tournament. So that's probably why it's not recorded on the database.
That makes sense. Tom, you got a question for Tervel?
No, I just wanted to speak. I mean, it's quite a run, Tervel. Obviously, you and I are personal friends, so it seems a little bit weird to be asking you questions that we talk all the time. But, I mean, obviously, I think it's good for our listeners. It's great to have you on the show. I mean, you had a tremendous career. I don't think it's officially over, but I think you're at least out for a year or two. If you just wanted to speak to your Olympic experience this year, we're kind of give you the floor here on a 3 to 5 minute monologue. Speak to your Olympic experience this year, which I think will include a lot of trials and tribulations, and just kind of share with us, what you went through this year and what you got out of it, and how it's maybe going to impact your coaching career going forward and what have you.
Yeah. I mean, the last 2 years have been tough. I feel like I learned a lot about wrestling, about the sport, about getting more out of myself, just about kind of motivating myself in the latter portion of my career. And it kind of stinks that, I got hurt, so I couldn't really, test a lot of my theories out on myself. But, yeah, it's been back pain and all that stuff. It kind of stuff is not here. That's a different trial than just performance anxiety. You try to deal with your fears and your doubts in one end, but then it's like you had an injury that starts to snap you. And it was just tough because I kind of pour everything I had into training and come home and feel like a deadbeat husband and dad, just lay around the couch until the next workout. So, so my wife did a great job. She was super supportive of me, and kind of just got what I could. Obviously, I was able to make the team. Then stuff got a little worse, so I couldn't really work out much at all. Did a lot of boring aerobic workouts, tongue therapy, wrestled when I could.
Tervel, what was the official diagnosis? I mean, I know you had surgery around this time last year, but what is it actually with your back that the problems were, medically speaking?
That's the problem, was I couldn't. So initially, I started getting pain down my legs, and the doctors were like, "Oh, that has to be disc." So they took an MRI, and they're like, "Well, yeah, you got a little bit here. It looks old, but we'll start." They told me all this stuff that's good for spines. So I was doing inversion table and a lot of chiropractic, and it wasn't getting any better. And then it blew out. So then I had to get surgery. So then I took 8 weeks off. It got better. Started doing the same stuff because I'm like, well, keep my spine healthy. All the way up to about 2 weeks before the trials, it just got pretty bad to where I was like, what's going on? So finally, it was at the World Cup camp. I went to this osteopath in Colorado Springs, and she told me, it's not your disc, it's your ligaments. So she tested all my ligaments, and I had a bunch of tears in my lower back ligaments, SI joints, all that stuff, and it's actually the opposite of what I was doing. It's way too loose. So all that stretching, I kept hurting myself, then misdiagnosed. So at the World Cup camp, it got to a head where it was super bad again. I got some shots for my ligaments, and it actually started to help, but it was kind of one of those a little too late because I had to start wrestling in 4 weeks again, and then at that point it was just survive. So honestly, it's frustrating because it's I could have avoided a lot of this with a better diagnosis, but it is what it is. But my Olympic experience was relatively stressful. I mean, the day I left, my back kind of locked up on me. So when I got there, the first week was just filled with internal turmoil of me going, am I even going to wrestle? I can't even bend over, tie my shoes. Every time I do, something else happens. So I just walked on the treadmill for about 3 weeks. And then, so week 1 was kind of like me being very bitter. Week 2 was me being very worried. And week 3, I was mentally broke. And I just was like, I'm just going to walk out there. And if he dies, he dies kind of thing.
Jeez.
And so from a spectator view, I did not know anything was wrong with you. You wrestled those first 2 matches like nothing was wrong with you, when clearly wasn't the case. But in the semifinals, you could tell. But in the opening match, you had the defending world runner-up, and you're down 5-0, and you come back. I believe it was 3 takedowns in a row, or maybe there was a turn in there. Was that just, like you said, was it just a do or die? If he dies situation, you're just going to get it? Because, that was impressive. I was jacked up. I was sitting eating breakfast, yelling and screaming. And, you got me pumped up there. So what was it like going through that match?
It was good. That match was the most feasible. Like, he's not a hard hand fighter. And I got to low singles, so those aren't very, heavy on my back.
Yeah.
So when I got the low singles, I hit. It was a turn, so I went low single to waist, and then I went low single other side. So just the positions, like I couldn't really sprawl very hard, because when I sprawl, like it kind of hurts my back. So that's when he got to my legs. It was actually kind of like I just kind of gave up the takedown relatively easily. But what it did do was it didn't make me tired at all. Like I was still breathing out my nose, so it had a lot of energy to take. But it didn't really test my back super bad. I still couldn't get to my, explosive shots, but low singles were fine. I do remember after I finished that last low single, my first reaction was, got him. And then I remember this is how mentally broke I was. My second reaction was, damn it, I got to wrestle more matches.
Oh my gosh.
So at that point, and then when I wrestled Poland, I did finish. I had to go up and through him, and about halfway through the match, and then that's when it was just like, okay, this is getting bad. And then he started faking and moving, and I just every time I'd have to flex my core, it was like, okay.
Tervel, when I think of low back issues, because I've had them, not at the level that you've had, and even if I did, I didn't have to, wrestle in the Olympic Games while having those problems. But when I think of problems with the low back for an upper weight, it'd be, to your point, getting up and through a guy and when you're underneath in a tough shot, them pull continuously, just the continuous pulling on the head, and then to your point, sprawling. What positions were the most what positions made you cringe the most when you had to think about getting in them to win matches? Front
headlock, and that sucks for a shooting heavyweight, but front headlock, chest lock position,
so front headlock defense.
Front headlock defense, yeah, sorry. So when I was under that, if a guy was bouncing me, because you know how you have to defend it for a second, you have to take your hands off the ground, grab his hands, and then so all the weight is kind of in that fulcrum to right on your low back as he bounces you once or twice before you get his hand control. And that position actually I would watch it in other matches and go, oh, that sucks. Just seeing that position would kind of freak me out.
Oh my gosh. Dang. So we'll get on to some other stuff here, because
I got to ask him one more thing about the back injury. I fly international quite a bit. Was the international flight, and you're a big guy, international flight with a bad low back? You probably couldn't even stand up when you got off the plane, right?
Well, here's the clutch. Here's the clutch part. Art Martori came through with a business class seat, so I got to lay flat. So that was some kids.
That's awesome.
Coming through.
There you go. That helped out a lot then.
A lot. I would have been. It would have been bad if I got off at that time.
So, Tervel, one last question on the Olympics, just to kind of get it out there. Did your back, as the day went on, or it's the matches went on, because it was over a 4-hour span, did your back progressively get worse, or did the competition just get a little bit stiffer, or did your abilities deteriorate, or is it just that mental grind that got to you a little bit, trying to overcome all those things that you're dealing with?
It was a mixture, because I think if I would have, by the time I got to the court, in the middle of the Poland match, like in between, I had about 12 minutes before the semis, and it was locked up. So against Kashemi, I couldn't even be in my stance. So like I took that shot just to see, and it was like, okay, I can't do anything. And they locked up a low gut right on my hips, so that hurt too. But so in that match, I was physically incapable of wrestling against Petrus-Vili. So I took like 4-hour break or whatever, and then it was kind of like locked up. But it wasn't like super bad. But I think if I was in the other bronze medal match against one of those guys, that like the guys that it was like if I could get one takedown, I could win.
Yeah. Kind
of match. I might have tried to push it, but I was just so afraid of another back surgery that, like, I'd get in my stance and it would kind of take my breath away. And I knew Petrus-Vili is a guy that at 100% is not going to be easy to beat. And he's not a one takedown win kind of guy. He's a shooter. So it was just like overwhelming odds plus fear of further injury plus like the hopelessness of a year and a half of dealing with this kind of mixed into one formula. Just go.
Well, hey, we don't need to end on a somber note. I mean, let's assume your career is over, even though you probably are holding out a little bit of possibility there. But you wrestled for 6 bronze medals. Every world championship event you were in, you wrestled for the bronze. It's been a great career to this point. If you were to say, Tervel, I mean, and I know you don't like to talk too much about yourself, and you can answer this however you like, but if your career is over right now, what are you most proud of?
I mean, obviously that's a loaded question. It's hard to like pinpoint, but
let's stay wrestling specific too, because you could go. That's a very layered question, but let's stay wrestling specific. What are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of I think I have a very good handle. I wasn't able to produce the kind of wrestling that I thought I could by the end of my career, but I'm very proud of how much I understand the sport. I feel like my understanding of the sport has become, on a level of like, my goal was always mastery of the sport. So obviously with that comes medals and winning and obviously we always think of like the masters of the sport or the Olympic champs and the world champs, but I don't know. I think that my understanding of the sport and just mentally, physically, technically, at a very finite level is very high, and I'm very proud of that.
Well, that makes I guess a perfect transition into what our next topic should be, and I think our next topic should obviously be, I think you were named head of the Ohio RTC. Lou just took the job at Oklahoma, and Ohio RTC has been the most dominant RTC in the past quad, maybe the past 2 quads. I can't say, but I know for sure in the past quad the most dominant.
2 quads, Ben. I do know, so it's 2 quads.
Okay, I got it. The last 2 quads has been the most dominant. So when you talk about that mastery of the sport, knowledge, are you looking forward to that coaching piece or what?
Yeah, very much so. I have a lot of what I believe to be unique ideas and training methodologies and things like that I want to really try. I mean, I did a lot of testing on myself, but I feel like I'm excited to set up the training for these guys and just kind of also like give them a little piece of the mentality, the emotional side, all the parameters that I think are important that are hard to measure. I've come up with a couple ways to kind of generate feedback on those per athlete. I'm excited to kind of test my coaching philosophy that I've kind of come up with in real life, because right now it's obviously only theory.
Sure.
But I have a lot of stuff that, I've been around a lot of great coaches, and some of the stuff that I think is very important in development was never taught to me, and is never talked about really with a lot of people in their coaching style. So I think some of the things I'm going to bring to the table are unique. I don't know if someone else.
Can you touch on it, Tervel? I mean, I know it's a loaded question, but
yeah.
You know what approach? You know, and I half know the answer to this because you and I talk a lot. But what approach are you going to apply in an overarching way that maybe is slightly abnormal in our wrestling culture right now?
Well, the biggest I've come up with kind of a little way to analyze a couple qualities that I think are hard to measure, and the first one being honesty. And I think that one thing that's sold as weakness in sport is being honest with yourself and then with others about, fears, doubts, motivation. And I've come up with like kind of this little, I don't even know what to call it. It's kind of like a questionnaire, but it's more interactive to kind of measure the guy's delusional or honesty, state of delusion or state of honesty. And basically through that, I'm going for, I think that it's more effective to train an athlete to don't convince him he's the best, convince him to not be scared of losing, and then you'll get more out of him. So like if you just constantly keep telling a guy, hey, everything's awesome, you're the best, you work the hardest, you deserve this, you give him in a state of kind of entitlement instead of saying, these are the factors. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be scared. You're going to doubt yourself. The guy is going to look big in a singlet. He might maul his first match. I mean, he might have beat you 3 times, but all that stuff. If you can get yourself to the point where you're not scared of that stuff and it excites you and it challenges you, then you're in a good place. So I have a couple things. I have a methodology of getting people to that place. I think I'm actually writing a book about it. So.
Wow.
I'm doing that with honesty, effort, technical proficiency, and motivation. So those are my 4 factors that I'm kind of trying to chart.
Can you say that one more time?
Honesty, effort, technical proficiency. So kind of like learning,
sure.
Like the ability to learn technique, and motivation.
Nice. It's awesome. So Tervel, it's not really devil's advocate. It's just real talk here. I mean, you're also, you're going to run the RTC. You're going to probably be the point man on a lot of the freestyle training, but you're also the second assistant at Ohio State for the college guys. So you're covering a broad spectrum of athletes ranging from, 18 years old to 28. I know what I'm doing, professional, trying to, make the Olympic team, win the Olympic type guys. This approach, there's not a single part of it that I disagree with, other than when you apply the approach to various students or subjects, so to speak, you're going to get different responses. I mean, how are you ready for that challenge? I mean, when you got this 18-year-old kid that, is dealing with a whole set of different social and emotional challenges that a 27-year-old grown man is with 2 kids. I mean, how do you feel like, that's going to, I guess, what do you think of all that more than anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Here's the theory. I think my theory is foolproof. I've had enough conversations with enough people to come at me from different angles that I think my foundation and my theory is foolproof in getting maximum potential from an individual. Now, the verbal cues that you use for each person might be different, but I think the purest form of motivation in any athlete at any one moment is love what you do in the second you're doing it. So there's no, this is prize money. There's no, your parents will love you more. There's no, American flag. There's nothing you can say to a person to get them more motivated for an instance in life than I love what I'm doing in the second that I'm doing it. So, wow. That being said, it's almost like an elimination diet. So I want to be a pressure reliever. I don't want to add to these guys. I want to take off things that are holding them back. And I think that any level of athlete that has felt pressure can be excited about that. So if you ask any athlete from 17 or from 14 to 32 that's at an elite level, and you ask them, would you rather compete with less stress and more freedom? The answer will always be yes. And I think I have a general roadmap to get people there. I have a a lot of things a lot of verbiage that I use in my test subjects. Obviously, Kyle Snyder is very special in a lot of ways, and he would have done a lot of stuff. But that's my number one test subject. And, him and Bo Jordan, we think very similarly, and we collab. All the stuff that I've been coming up with, I kind of like, they've been my guinea pigs. Like, when Kyle came to Ohio State, he was super OCD about a lot of stuff. Like, he'd be that guy that's like, hey, if you eat this tomato with 10 spoonfuls of ranch on it, you'll be a national champ, and then you'll have to eat it. Like, that kind of stuff. So he was that guy. So I would like create challenges. Like, I'd be in the cold tub and I'd say, Kyle, if you get out before me, you're not gonna win the nationals. Or I'd like, and I'd create these challenges to basically, and then we'd have the talk. Like, do you really think that's a thing? Like, you're really gonna, And I would create these challenges that he couldn't win. But then to show him that it's like none of this is based on your performance. You're creating games to try to control something you don't have control over. Like, worry about the process, worry about development. Stop trying to guarantee winning. And he really took to the philosophy, and he's created a mindset about the wrestling. And I'm not saying he never fears, and that's the point. It never goes away, but he knows how to fight it, and he knows how to fight for correct thoughts. So, and same thing with Bo, and I think that they've come a long way. And I'm not only selling performance, because I can't ever promise someone winning. Talent exists, so let's not kid ourselves. But what I'm promising is your performance will definitely, I believe, go up if you're more free to perform. But what I'm also selling is enjoyment of quality of life. Because if the only time you can smile is when you win a gold medal, then you're going to have a miserable existence. So, but if you can smile every time you get a chance to wrestle and develop, then you get to smile every day. So not only is it, I think, will get people to next level performance, but I think they'll really start to love this stuff, because there is something addictive about wrestling that you can really love to master.
For sure. So, hey, let me ask you one question. I think we'll be done soon. I don't want to take too much of your time.
I got one question after that, but it's not a deep, it's a fun one.
You're done.
Okay.
You're done. Okay. I guess, and maybe you can't give us this, but you just talked about, one of your main pupils who's going to be Kyle Snyder, but obviously with yourself retiring, Reese Humphrey's done, from my understanding. The Ohio RTC is going to need to replenish its stock. Who do you guys got coming in?
Well, we have some guys we're targeting for years to come. No one right now. I mean, obviously everyone's kind of locked into where they are for this year, but we have some high caliber guys, and we have some high hopes for. But I mean, at this point, it's just the landscape is different, because when the RTC started, when the Ohio RTC first started, it was like, obviously I'm a D2 guy. Sean Bunch was an Edinburgh guy. Keith Gavin won from Pitt.
Yeah.
I mean, small schools just aren't winning anymore. And everyone that's winning has an RTC to stay at. So getting guys has become more difficult, because there's no school that's winning without an RTC, so people just kind of stay where they're at. So, but we do have some guys that have shown some interest, and obviously with Kyle there and with the history we have, there's an allure. But sometimes it's hard to fight against loyalty. When you're the man on campus, it's hard to leave. So we got to kind of fight against that.
Definitely.
Plus, we got some organic. And as you say, because I'm being biased here, we have some organic developments in Kyle Snyder, Logan Stieber, and then Nate Tomasello. I mean, those are three very prominent, international wrestling prospects or Olympic champions that are right in there. But I think that's going to be a challenge, to your point, Tervel. I've never looked at it that way,
Tommy,
but it's absolutely.
I like that you just called Kyle Snyder a prospect. I really enjoyed that.
Well, the other two are prospects. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess I just.
Yeah, we'll see how he turns out.
Yeah, I think he's going to get it done. I really do. Hey, Tervel, Tervel. One last question, and thanks a lot for coming on. But just to have a little fun here, I know you listen to our podcast every now and again. What do you think of our top 10 international, our top 10 college list? Just kind of, since you're such a wrestling, guru like us or junkie like us, let's just spitball here. What do you think of our lists?
I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I haven't listened to the NCAA ones yet. because I've been in Mexico.
Come on.
My bad. But I feel like the international ones were interesting. I thought, Tommy, I agree with your list a little more.
What?
I think Ben got a little wild.
What do you mean? Oh wait, we're talking about the international one, right?
International.
You're just mad I put Baumgartner at 4 like Tommy is.
No, that's not. But the reasoning you put Kemp up there was faulty. Because you said he won 3 in a row minus the Olympics, but he actually went gold, Olympics, bronze, gold. And so you can't say he would have won that Olympics.
Semantics.
Oh yeah, sure. But and then Kyle Bake, that's a tough one for me because it's like that's I mean Kyle Snyder is in college and he's done all right.
Well, this was before the Olympics, so Kyle
was a world champion.
But he did. I mean, now he's got 2. That he could. I'd probably put him on my list right now.
Yeah, but even the Terry Brands thing, I mean, it's hard to think, and again, but I think I'm with Tommy where maybe even like the college, I'd be scaling it kind of toward that 10-15% instead of your 40%. So but I thought, I mean, it's hard to argue with the top 5 guys. You know, everyone's kind of, I do think you guys kind of, the one thing, Ben, that I would argue with you about is, you are giving people future accolades like
only Burrows. That's it.
Well, and Dake, you're talking about how he's going to do things.
I said he could have done things if
Ben was trying to boost ratings, I think, or something with that Dake comment. He just wanted to get people to get
Listen,
chatter.
Tervel, I just think it's bullcrap that there used to be 10 weights and now there's only 6. Like, you know where I was thinking of it today? I was literally just, I almost got so mad today that I said, Tommy, we need someone with $100 million to start our own international wrestling organization who will trump the UWW and then get the Olympic bid, right? Because Spencer Lee and Dayton Fix are so freaking good for their age, but I think it is so unlikely that either of them will grow past 125 pounds, past that weight class internationally. We're never going to have them both on the team together. And that really bothered me.
It is a snapper when I look at
21 and 32 or something in there, like there always has been.
And I agree. And I know Tervel can't comment on individuals anymore because he's an assistant coach at collegiate level, but it just bothers me because I do see Fix in Lee. And when you look at the height of Fix and then just the overall size of Lee, it ain't happening. If there's a 125 pound weight class and 143 or whatever it is, I mean, neither one of those guys are going to be wrestling the ideal weight at the Olympic trials, or they're going to be wrestling each other.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, those 2 guys, and I'm projecting obviously, but say they continue to do what they're doing. I mean, they could be battling every single year where if there's a 121 or a 119 like there used to be and a 132 or somewhere in there, I mean, those 2 are both making teams if they keep doing what they're doing, for sure.
Oh, for sure. But I would say, I mean, we're invested. Obviously we're America, and those are our guys, so we're invested, and we have probably relationships with them and people around them, and we watch them. But, I mean, I'll tell you what, the Russians have the same problem. Some of those weights, it's like,
right.
I'm sure they're like, dude, our number 3 guy can medal. You guys were the ones talking about the stats of the Olympics, where it's like, both the bronze medalists at 97 kilos became citizens of Romania and Uzbekistan this year. They were both 84 kilo Russians.
Sure.
I know that
the other bronze medalist in my weight was a Russian. I mean, it's everywhere.
Sure, but if our guys,
how sick would it be if Dayton Fix, if he didn't make the American team and he can just go wrestle for the Republic of Florida in the Olympics? I mean, how awesome would that be?
That's what we need to do. We just need to chop up the United States and the Republic.
Yeah, I mean, then the other thing, obviously, you're a historian of the sport, Tervel. I mean, that guys weren't dealing with in the past is right now Russians are wrestling for literally almost 20 countries. I mean, you have the USSR was one country that became 15, right? So there's 14 more countries, and then they're exporting them to all these other countries. So literally back in the day, you're wrestling one freaking Russian, and that's
and
it.
Granted, he's the best. He's the best Russian,
but it's still only one of them.
Yep.
Now, well, I'll tell you this. So here's a stat for you for your stat book. So I made 17. I made 17. I competed in 6 of them. I've had 28. I've had 28 matches at the World Olympics.
Okay.
And out of those 28 matches, 21 of them have been against Soviet countries. I've had 7 matches outside the Soviet Union in the World Olympics.
Damn.
Out of 28.
Holy cow. That's 75% of his matches were against Soviets.
I mean, so take yes, okay. I don't want to. We're gonna get back into our international episode where I'm talking about the difference of now and 30 years ago as far as successful rate of Americans goes, but it's a lot different. So
it's the landscape's changed.
Way changed. All right, Tervel, you got anything else for us? If not, that was a lot of fun.
That was awesome.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Love talking about fun. Love your show. Keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it, Tervel. Have a great night.
Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right, Tommy.
Pretty good, right?
That was fun.
That was fun. We should have him back on. I mean, the thing about Tervel is that he's got the way that he talks about things. We can almost cover any topic, and he'd be a nice guest to have on.
Yeah, he could talk about it all, huh?
He should probably have his own podcast, huh?
There you go. Well, don't give him the idea because that'll hurt our ratings.
Hey, by the way, speaking of our podcast and our ratings, because we never plug our show in a professional way, but Ben, you're better at this than me. Can you give our listeners some guidance on downloading to iTunes and stuff like that?
Yeah, guys, listen. I know you guys love us, so just go to iTunes, subscribe to our podcast. That way you get it automatically every single week. You don't have to go find it on Flow. You don't have to find it anywhere else. It'll just pop up on your phone. Plug it into your car, listen to it. That's what I do with all my podcasts. So, guys, find us on iTunes, subscribe to us. That way you don't have to wonder when we're coming out every week. That's easy,
awesome.
Right? So let's get actually let's cut there. So Jake, cut this. So put Tervel as the last episode. And so Tommy, we're gonna go back like we were talking. This is gonna be like before we talk to Tervel and talk about the Junior World Championships.
Okay.
Actually, just let me write down the time that's at. Like 35 minutes ish. 35 minutes.
Tervel's a good guest, man. I thought that was good. It was a little bit deeper than our past. He
went deep, didn't he?
But it's kind of good because our past 5 episodes, they were great, but they weren't deep. Sure. And every now and again you got to throw a little psychological stuff in there. I think it was good.
Yeah, I love it. I hope our audience also loves it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
Cool. All right, so I'll bring us into so how are we gonna segment that? I
think the downside is the way that you talked about Tervel coming on before he came on. It almost was like we were starting the show off. Do you follow?
Well, we'll just tape this segment and then whatever Jake feels like he can do best, he does best.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Cool. So. All right, Tommy. So I
think we should go through this not in an hour, though. I think we should go through this in like Junior Worlds. It'll be fun. We'll talk about, I think we can do it in like 20, 25 minutes, don't you think?
Oh, I mean, so we're already at, we're already at 40 minutes. So, it better not take us more than 20 minutes.
Okay, got it.
Okay. All right. Tommy, so as you know, Junior World Championships were last week in France. I got a lot of thoughts about these, but thank you, Flow Wrestling. You guys actually covered this event live. Now, I wasn't up watching it live because it started at 3 a.m. But I believe this is the first time that the Junior Worlds has been covered in live format. And we got a couple titles. I mean, how much of the wrestling did you get to watch, Tommy?
I watched all of Hall, Lee, and Fix's. I watched probably 7 or 8 of their matches. And then I caught some highlights. I watched one of Valencia's tech falls. I caught a good amount. I mean, I didn't catch it all, but I caught enough to really, I guess, diagnose our performance on the freestyle side of things.
For sure. So, I thought they looked good. We had some weights where we weren't that great on the freestyle side of things. But on an overall basis, I was very impressed. Spencer Lee's awesome. Dayton Fix is awesome. Mark Hall's awesome. Valencia had a tough match. I don't necessarily agree with all the reffing that happened in the match that he lost. So I mean, those four as the nucleus. Pantaleo couldn't defend the gut there. That was kind of disappointing to me. And then Gross had a really a wild match that he lost. He was down 10-2 and he almost came back. He lost 11-10. It was a fun match. But let's start out with Spencer Lee. He probably got pushed more than he's got pushed because in a long time. He ran through everyone at Worlds last year. The final match was an awesome match. What did you think of that one?
Awesome match. I mean, the right guy won. It was a tough match, and I think that if they were to wrestle again, it would be a wider spread. I think the guy had some goofy stuff, especially, I think Spencer felt a little bit better than he should have felt when he was in on shots and things like that. And I thought he did what champions do. I was very impressed because that happens to everybody, right? I mean, at some point you get in those goofy situations, but thankfully I thought the right guy definitely won.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that. I do think, though, Tommy, in the very first period, this guy tried it again later in the match, and he got points for it. He did this goofy little, as Spencer was going behind, he kind of grabbed an arm and jumped over. And I thought it was a situation where it should have been called 2-2, but they went 2 for Spencer Lee, and that was it. And in the end, that's the difference in the match. Now, could Spencer Lee turn it up a little more? Yeah, he could have. And to your point, 100%, he felt too comfortable in some of the situations. But that Metzger, I think he was a Kyrgyzstani guy, or Kyrgy, that he hit in the first period, it was freaking beautiful.
It was nasty, dude.
He went into, I call it hurdler's position, so where he goes into a half splits type of deal. I mean, so Spencer Lee's bear hugging him. He hits this Metzger and goes into a half splits. And man, he put Spencer on his back hard.
Ben, I'm gonna say something, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea,
sure,
but I think you're gonna agree with me. Why? And I feel like this does not exist with American wrestlers, but with foreign wrestlers, they can look like the goofiest dudes in the world from the neck up. Their physical traits aren't overly impressive. They walk out there, they got these loose singlets that don't even go all the way around their legs. You know what I mean? They're just goofy looking dudes, and they can go out there and just freaking lay the wood to somebody or hit the most beautiful technique. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen in America. If you hit a Metzger, and this is very surface level vain talk here.
No, but I think it's true,
dude. If you hit a Metzger like that in the U.S., if you're an American wrestler, you probably look like a Greek god or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, this Kyrgyzstani dude looks like he plays Madden NFL 2016 for a living.
But Tommy, he wanted to be in all fairness, he was a 110 pounder. In all fairness,
I'm just saying, it's just bizarre to me. Don't you see that in other countries? For some reason, these dudes look so goofy, and they go out and just lay the wood to somebody.
Yeah, the guy I thought that about actually was Alec Pantaleo, the Indian guy who gutted him out. I thought that guy was like a bum. I'm like, oh, easy match here. And then,
how does that happen?
Honestly, I think with America, it probably has to do with our training systems. The college system's so regimented where everybody's lifting 3 or 4 times a week, and that right. I would guess. I don't have anything, but yeah, to your point, I see exactly what you're saying, and I think it's correct.
I've lost to a couple of those guys. 10 years, 10 years in the international scene. It's like, I got this guy, and then he goes out there and hits a freaking Jap whiz for 3 on me. I'm like, who is this guy? Anyways, I got flashback.
That never happened to me because I'm the guy who looks like that guy.
No, you're not, Ben. You're not. You're not. I know you're not the most physically imposing character, but no, you're not like the clientele that I'm talking about.
That worse than me? Okay, fair enough, Tommy. Okay, 121 or was it 55 kilograms? Dayton Fix looked good, and that kid he beat, was a senior level European silver medalist. So I mean, not a joker by any sense of imagination. Took a bronze medal, lost a tough one, but man, he's good. He's still got him and Spencer both got another year of high school.
Yeah, they're both animals. To the point we've talked about, it's interesting that, him and Spencer might end up wrestling for world and Olympic teams for 12 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it is too early for us to be projecting that for sure. But at the rate these guys are going, I would like to do a best high schoolers ever era episode, Tommy. And I'd have to do some serious research because I'm not as educated on high school as I am as college or international. But these guys are. I mean, this group that's coming through right now is got to be about as good as any group that's ever came through. I mean, Kyle Snyder just came out of high school. He's still 20 years old, winning world and Olympic titles. But when he was in high school, he was winning the juniors. Mark Hall, he's won world titles.
I think,
now.
I
Spencer
think,
Lee, all these guys.
I think we are seeing a drastic transformational change in what the 18-year-old blue chip wrestler now looks like as opposed to 10 years ago.
Definitely.
I mean, and 10 years is not a long time over the lifespan of wrestling, right? So, I mean, our blue chippers, the 4 or 5 best recruits coming out of high school every year, are way better than they were 10, 12 years ago. Wouldn't you agree?
That's what it would appear. I mean, Tommy, we didn't have guys doing this when I was coming through. What these guys are, I mean, I still remember, Tommy, when I want to say Donnie Pritzloff was in his second year of college and he won a junior world title. And it was like, wow, that's awesome. But Spencer Lee and Mark Hall are doing it in freaking high school.
Exactly right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I think Steven Abbas might have won one again when he was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of our top 10 ever in college. And these guys are doing it in high school. So, yeah, I think like you said, we're seeing a shift. These kids are getting better earlier. Who
we're missing from this junior world team because of injury and other things is Aaron Pico. Arguably the best junior wrestler in America.
Yeah, because he still would have been eligible at, oh my God, what am I trying to say here? At 145 pounds? So, yeah.
You could argue that Hall, Lee, Pico, Fix, and Valencia, those 5 juniors are the best 5 juniors we've ever had compared to any other crop of juniors in any other year. Wouldn't you say?
You're talking about if we pick 1 year
20 and under junior, just
who's our best?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you definitely could. But and the sick thing about it is,
I would actually say it's hands down.
I want to say Mark Hall's got another year. Spencer Lee's definitely got another year. Fix has got another year. So these guys aren't done yet.
Yeah, Valencia's probably done.
Let me ask you this: is
Pico's
Kyle
probably
Snyder
not
still
done.
junior eligible or no?
Who?
Kyle Snyder.
He might have been this year, but he turns 21 in November.
Okay, so he's not. It's because if they turn it in the calendar year.
Yeah, so this year he would not have been a junior.
Wow.
He's getting old, man.
Yeah, but that's crazy, right? I mean, are we talking crazy or crazy?
Crazy. I mean, it's
and it's not only
just,
Tommy their results. When I watch them wrestle, when I watch these kids wrestle, I'm thinking, holy crap, they're good.
You're right. That's a good point. That's a good point. When you watch them wrestle, it's just it is different. It's visibly different.
And I don't like giving out compliments easy.
No, you actually like to just make rainy days for people.
Sometimes, if it's like, I like to tell like it is, and lots of times it's not the way people want to hear it. But when I'm watching these kids, I mean, some of the things Dayton Fix was just doing, and Mark Hall. Wow, I was just saying, wow, these kids are freaking 19. I was thinking, how did Mark Hall get beat at the damn trials? He should have freaking placed at the Olympic team trials.
Yeah, he got freaking ramrodded by Andrew Howe. I mean, it just goes to show that, and I'm not taking anything away from how good, because I believe, everything we're saying, obviously I believe it, but there's still another level out there.
Yeah.
And Spencer Lee, as good as he is, he just won the 110-pound world championships,
Yeah.
So
and that's crazy to think about, right? That there used to be a senior level weight class. Can you remember that?
Well, it probably should be, Ben, when you look at the
stop.
Well, hear me out.
Okay.
Asia.
That's still, Tommy, 110, 105 used to be an Olympic weight. 105 pounds. Can you imagine?
Yeah, those Asians might need that weight class. You think about it. The Asian cultures, they
so tiny.
I've only been to Asia once in India, and it's a smaller culture of people, wouldn't you say?
100% there. I've been there a whole bunch of times, and they're definitely smaller. But when we're talking 105-pound adult,
that is 105.
105-pound adult.
105 small.
That's a tiny human being.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. So okay. So let's get on. Seth Gross, kind of mixed results there. He kind of brought the heat, but he was just giving up too many points.
Now, would that have been Pico's weight?
That's Pico's weight.
Gosh, just thinking in a perfect world, if that would have been, if we had Pico.
You got to remember, Pico was in the Junior World Finals 2 years ago, right?
He got second, and then last year.
Do you know who he lost to?
Yazdani Hacharidi or whatever that won the Olympics, right?
The Olympic champion. I mean, he lost to the freaking Olympic champion. So,
and then he lost last year in a heartbreaker, didn't he?
He took
and got bronze.
I want to say bronze. Yeah, he took bronze last year, but yeah, he lost a really tight one. So yeah, he still wins a medal. So I think a lot of these kids are just they're getting a high level of coaching early, and they're using their resources. And then obviously USA Wrestling is putting more resources into the younger kids, which I think, in my opinion, is a smart move than they ever have been before.
Well, you got Bill Zadek and Brandon Slay also that, we've always had developmental coaches, but these are world and Olympic champions that really put a lot of time into developing out the developmental program, trying to find like a hybrid of how to help keep these kids engaged with the Olympic movement while they also, feel satisfied with what they're doing on the folk style side. And they've done that. We've done that as a country with Kyle Snyder, with a lot of these other guys. And so hopefully we can continue to replicate that and keep finding the happy medium.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, let's get into Mark Hall. Valencia will be an easy one. I thought it was a bullcrap takedown. I don't believe he gave up a takedown.
I did not get to watch his loss, to be fair.
So the guy had this single jacked up, and he kind of ran him across the mat. And I think these refs are just assuming, okay, he's going to give up a takedown. And the guy kind of pushes him, and as he's falling in air, he turns, and so he ends up kind of perpendicular as he hits the mat. And the guy kind of lands on top of him, but he gets up and he wrestles out of it. It should have been no points. And I think Zeke thought about challenging, but he figured, hey, it's early in the match. It's 2-1. No big deal. We'll get back on this. But I don't think those are points. I don't think it's a takedown, and that changes the match completely. So he was right in there too to get a medal.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Mark Hall. I decided to watch all of his matches. He has a barn burner with the Japanese guy right out of the bat.
3-2.
3-2. Got this barn burner going, and then the semifinal. Did you get to watch this one? Because
dirty.
Okay, this is classic. Like I'm saying, I told Martin Flo, every dirty trick a European could use, they used it in this match.
Was bad, dude. It was bad.
So bad, right?
Bad.
I mean, okay. So first of all, the singlet yank, and then they push each other, and the ref says play nice. Look, he had a singlet for 10 seconds. Freaking call him, right?
It's just bizarre. It's got to be cultural. I mean, why would you if that was in the US, you would just get booed and kicked out of them. It just wouldn't go over. You know what I mean?
It would not go over. Not at all. So that was I don't want to say shocking, but it was what is going on here? This is just ridiculous. Then he kind of fake shakes his hand, right? Tommy, there was still 20 seconds left, and he's going for the fake shake his hand. Then he's gonna get him. Then he gets underneath him for a headlock, and he fakes Mark's choking him out, and the ref actually stops it.
He pulled out all the bag of tricks. Everything came out of the bag.
He was trying everything. The one thing that I'll tell you, I was completely shocked by is that they actually called him for not opening up. Because that situation frustrates the hell out of me, Tommy. Mm-hmm. I mean, that happens all the time, and it's never called. They say, open up, open up, open up, open up, open up, open up. And then they're like, oh, okay, bring it back up. I'm like, well, hey, if you're going to, what? Penalize him, Come on, for God's sakes, right?
Right.
So they actually called him, and that's what won Mark the match. I mean, and fair is fair. There's a rule there, and it should be called, and it finally was called in this match. But that's what won him the match.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you got anything else you want to talk about? Or I guess we didn't mention Colin Moore. He kind of got embarrassed, Tommy, and this guy hit the slickest standing Peterson. Oh, it was badass. It was so awesome.
Colin had a great summer. I thought making the team and being exposed to this type of wrestling at that level for where he came from when the spring started. I mean, he got probably as much or more out of this than Spencer Lee did for his own development. And so I think, for the United States, it wasn't good to watch him get worked by the Russian. But, I think that guy is going to continue to learn that he belongs at that level and be better next time.
Yeah.
But he got worked. He got smoked by the Russian. It's happened to the best of us.
Happens to the best of us. All right, Tommy. So until next week, let's try to get Lou Roselli on next week. That would be fantastic.
Let's do Lou Roselli and Jay Jaggers and Tom Ryan and whoever the name is volunteer the next 5 weeks.
Wow, that would show a little bias on your part. We'll throw a few of them on there. I don't know about all of them, though.
I got you, man. I got you.
All right, let's thank our sponsor, Defense Soap. Thanks, as
always. Thank you, Defense.
Defend what you have built. And, Tommy, I'll catch you next week.
All right, brother.
Thanks a lot.
See you. You are listening to the T-Row and Funky Show, brought to you by Defense Soap. Defend what you have built.